Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Well, actually, no. Welcome to the first episode of Academic Machinery with V. That is me, your host for today. And I, first of all, wanted to go ahead and solidify why this podcast is here. Yeah, it's an assignment, but also I wanted to create a safe space for my fellow academics, and it's important for them to have it because even though we were warned numerous times, college is scary, it's a battlefield. Listen, the reason why you're watching this is because you're actually still in college. So it's important that you have, dollars to combat these trials and tribulations. And when I mean trials and tribulations, I mean the exams, the evil midterms, and the group projects of the people who don't respond to the text of like, hey, are you gonna go ahead and finish up your last bit of slides? And then my favorite, public speaking. And it was not always my favorite, believe it or not. I was at one point incredibly scared to shoot, listen, I was even at one point afraid to go places because I was afraid of saying the wrong thing. And I was afraid of judgment. And it sounds silly on paper because we will always have to go to places, we will always have to, deal with judgment because ultimately, as I'm speaking to you, you are taking in what I'm saying and you are perceiving me and you're putting me into like a binary box that aligns with more so you, because ultimately everybody you come into contact with a reflection of you, all the junk. But also, I'm not gonna get into my philosophy talk, guys. I won't do it yet. But basically what I'm saying, what I'm talking about is communication apprehension, and this concerns the fears that we all have about communicating with others. Speech anxiety is communication apprehension specific to making speeches. And listen, at one point I had speaking apprehension, like speech anxiety bad, really, really bad. But I found that since we as humans are naturally empathetic creatures, when we are listening to a public speaker, many of us, even for a tiny little split little baby second, will put ourselves in the shoes of the person who is presenting or the speaker. And I think that's really sweet. That it's just like a natural inclination of like, shoot, like that guy's, doing their best up there. Like, I'm sorry, you really have to be so mean to see somebody trying to go ahead and give a speech and do their best, and you're like, man, boo, this guy stinks. That guy in SpongeBob, whack. That man was whack. Anyways, I just want to go ahead and like tell you that what I'm about to say is more than just like yoga and meditation. Like, I do love yoga and meditation. Like, most have tap into that. But what I'm about to tell you is more than yoga and meditation. It is a genuine knowledge. And the fact that this knowledge, it's going to end up propelling you forward in your academic journey. Because this is power. Knowledge is power. So if you know the source of the issues, you can combat them with a plan of action. So this can prevent your stressors from becoming distress. And disclaimer, I am a psychology major, but I'm not certified in helping anyone with severe anxiety. I can only give tips and tricks that help me in my journey to be a better public speaker. It takes work and it takes time, and it also takes a lot of empathy towards yourself. And the only way to be empathetic to yourself is if you know yourself. Once again, knowledge, yada, yada, yada. But if you know yourself and knowing your audience, like let's take my Calm 101 celebratory speech. I don't know my fellow peers at all, but I do know human beings. And honestly, Burke ended up saying it the best. He says, here is perhaps the simplest case of persuasion. You persuade a person only in so far as you can talk his language by speech, gesture, tonality, order, image, attitude, idea, identifying your ways with his. Persuasion by flattery is but a special case of persuasion in general, but flattery can safely serve as our paradigm if we systematically widen its meaning to see behind it the conditions of identification. So this is basically the process of I'm revealing to my audience, like I revealed to my audience in class that I am like them in some way. I chose a topic using concept mapping and narrowed down what my audience would care about the most, what they would deem worthy of celebration, because that was what the assignment called for. That being my wonderful big brother's graduation, completing at Fire Academy. I'm still so excited and I'm so happy for him still. But yeah, I had to ask the questions, what is the speaking situation? What topics are interesting and relevant to me? And what topics will be interesting and relevant to my audience? So I love my big brother so much. He is so cool. And the speaking situation is celebration. And listen, I don't need a celebration thing to happen for me to go and be like, woo woo, go Theodore, you know, that's the name of my big brother. Um, and I could tell that my audience would also care about that because choosing with concept mapping, choosing one over the other doesn't diminish one of the slightest, but my brother being able to graduate a crazy amount of trading and become like a dude that punches fires out is really amazing. And I had to go and choose that over my friend, holding a dinner for my friend who is transitioning and is getting top surgery soon. Now, one thing has happened and the other has not. I was already leaning towards the one thing that has happened because it's easier to go ahead and let things flow when, it's already happened and it's already there. But also, I could tell that what my fellow classmates wanted to see were things that impacted people. Like, did it impact the community? Did it impact the collective? And that's real. Listen, I love community. You go, girl. But it's like I guess what I'm trying to say is in discussion boards, people were eliminating people for speeches based off of their impact. It had to be centered around maybe celebrities or maybe something that they themselves can feel empathized toward, and that's not bad. Ultimately, we want to listen to things that have something to do with us. So it's I took this into consideration when I prepared, and despite knowing my brother as well as I do, I had to go and prepare a lot because the bigger your audience, the more you need to prepare. If I were to go and sit up here and rub bank with my homies, I don't need to prepare for that. Okay, it's probably gonna be listen, a stack of two people, 2 to 3 people, and we don't need too many accomplices. We don't need too many witnesses. However, speaking to a group of people who I do not know in a classroom setting is entirely different. I will have to go and use more formal language. I will have to go and incorporate some respectability politics, despite there being controversy over that. Um, but also, it helped that the celebratory speeches, I did incorporate some. I'm sorry, y'all. I did incorporate some selective listening because my active listening was because the information from my fellow peers was valuable to me. It showed me the kinds of speeches like I should be giving. I ended up paying attention to it because everyone had a claim, stories as speech support, and conclusions to support those speeches. And it felt like I don't want to be rude. I really don't want to be rude. But I was selective listening because ultimately, it's hard to go and always, pay attention and dial in. But I guess I say this all to say that it felt like one of those moments where I don't remember what everyone was saying. I don't. But I do remember how what they were saying made me feel. And if I'm being honest, I was inspired and I was also very proud of my fellow peers, getting up there and yapping. I love yappers. So I'm like, you go, girl. It was important to me to go ahead and pay attention in this particular class when people were giving speeches so I knew what to do in order to be successful. And I feel like doing that will get you very, very far. Preparation and empathy with the combination of, once again, concept mapping and knowing your like audience, you will go so, so far. The only way you would need to go and give a speech that doesn't really cater to your audience is if it's combative. Even then, you're taking consideration your audience that you can go and be combative towards. Anyways, thank you so much for joining me on Academic Machinery with me. That is me, your host. And I really do appreciate you guys going ahead and listening and stopping by and, hearing me yap. So, listen, I'll go ahead. I'll come back soon. Maybe, maybe not. So, bye.